you sit in your tongue bust. That's the first stage of being Muslim. Hakada. So that's it. Yani, the Muslim who does a sin, this erases his whole status as a Muslim, he leaves Islam. So whoever drank, whoever fell into illegal intercourse, whoever stole, yani, whoever lied, he's a kafir. You can kill him. His blood is lawful. He has no rights inside of Islam. This was the descendants of that man who grabbed the Prophet like this, said, be just, O Muhammad. Later on, they came in the time of Uthman, and then this ideology became well known and full blown in the time of Ali, and they are the Khawarij. So what's the point? The point is here from this hadith of Osama bin Zayd, you see the statement that the brother made, the statement, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, makes you Muslim. But if you go a step further with details, then it opens up to what he's saying, what you said, what he said, the actions, the lambs. But even the statement, you have to believe it here. You can't say it inside, he ain't the messenger. This is what's called munafiq. So the A'rab here, Allah said, Ashaddu kufran. They are the most stubborn, and this is why, yani, we talked about this, because when you talk about Arabiya, the language is going to change. Why did they have a Dhamma here and it has a Kasra there? Meaning it had this mark here and it became lowercase somewhere else underneath. This is what's called Kasra. Somebody help me with the Kasra. Where's the Kasra at? If we would have changed it to
there was no kasra.
Here, that's a Kasra. Somebody might say, wait a minute. But here is lines above. Why is the line there? Because this is what's called Araba. It's changing. So when you talk about the Arabic language, then you need to know the history of the people, that they were moving around, and the language was that type of language that Allah gave them, due to the moving around of the language. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of his wisdom, sent the last revelation in this language, because this moving around makes it difficult to distort the revelation. This is so important that moving it will change the whole context, and it will free an individual from having an easy chance to change the meanings like the previous people of the prior nations. Any questions? How much time we got left? Probably almost out, huh?
20 minutes.
20 minutes
15
left?
minutes, yeah, 15.
15, okay. So any questions as we continue? Is this still fading, kind of like?
It's better.
It's better? Okay.
Yes,
We'll
it
see
is.
when I erase
I'll
it.
clean it each time,
We'll see
inshallah.
when I erase it.
We'll clean it each time we start.
This might need to be washed too without some grease
No, I
or
think
something.
there should be a different eraser.
Yeah,
That's not the one that is
That's not the
used.
one.
Yeah,
that might be for that board.
yeah.
Oh.
I just brought it just for.
We need a new eraser,
I'll bring one. So.
inshallah.
So, without saying a whole lot, the Arabic language, as we said, Arabiya to yet, that's a wheelbarrow. This is yet, hand. It's hand. And you have يعني ماذا يعني tiflo, which is يعني baby. All right, baby. That's a bad baby. So yeah, you have يعني قطار which is يعني railroad. Railroad. If you take Arabiya and add it in a sentence with yet, Arabiya to yet, Arabiya to yeddun, or يعني عربية يد. This means a wheelbarrow, meaning something taharrak, it moves by hand. Doesn't move on its own, something has to move it. Whether it's gas, an engine, a person pushing it. So here, Arabiyatu yad. Arabiyatu yad, you push it by hand, we call the wheelbarrow. We say Arabiyatu tiflun, or the plural, atfal, for plural children. This is child. Then that means you push the baby yani by hand. We call it stroller. Some people call it baby buggy in some of the dictionary. Then you have qatar. Qataru.
Kataru?
Qataru. Which is train, locomotive, railroad. You say Arabiyatun. This is another way of saying qatar. You say Arabiyatun. And Arabiyatun. That's the person.
Yeah.
And you say Yani a qatar, the train. So tell you it's down the street like this.
So Khataru means just railroad?
Yeah, just railroad. That's it.
Or is there any other meanings for that?
Arabiyatun is synonymous with qatar. Qatar is more specific because again, Arabiya is used for a lot of things, but qatar is normally what they use in Arabic for train. Qatar in Egypt and in Yemen, in Jordan, Saudi, Qatar. You also have yani what's called Yaratun, which normally we say Yaratun, car, truck, van. What? All of this is Arabiyatun. You can use Arabiyatun. But this van, car, truck, same thing. Then we would talk about wagon.
Anything to transport?
Aywa.
Any vehicle.
Yep, any vehicle. Vehicle. Yep. All of this is Arabiyatun. Arabiyatun. Almost stop. So, why are we talking about this? Because you need to know something about the people, the civilization, the language when you talk about the people. You want to learn English, you need to know a little bit about the land where the people came from because something is going to tie into one another in most cases. And when you learn a language, they normally tell you about the customs of the people and this and that. It just so happens that the language ties in with the people, and the people, yani their lifestyle, their civilization, all of it is from Arabiyatun, Urbu, yani Arab, Arabatun, Arabiyatun. Everybody finished? Yes?
No.
So now, we talk about the issue of speaking, then it becomes known as a lugha, because to speak is a lugha, language. So thus, we have alif, alif, Yep. And here, remember, this yani means what's called in Arabic
Shadda.
shadda. Shadda.
Shit.
And this means times 2. So whatever is on that side, like in this case, is over the ya. So it means ya times 2. We put the shadda over the ayn. And that means ayn times 2. If we put it over the ra, it means ra times 2. It means it's 2 of those letters. This is where you get an Arabi to elongate this first one here, an Arabi, which is 2 count. An Arabiya, Arabiya. So the first one, Arabi, you stop. Arabi, you hear the ya, Arabi. And then the second one is pronounced yatu, Arabi yatu. And that's because that sign, which is called shadda in Arabic, it signifies 2 letters of whichever letter that it's above. So here, lughatu al-arabiyyatu means the language that is constantly moving. Lughatu. Lughatu. That's alif, lam. This is el. And then the rest is a lam, with a dhamma, a ghain, and a ta marbuta. Give me the name of a lugha. A lugha. Any language. Rahim.
That's it in Arabic.
No, any language. I mean, because you're talking
Spanish.
language. Spanish. Okay? So they say, Spanish is a lughatu. And they will say in the Arabic language, a Spaniard. Lughatu Spaniard.
Luga?
Lughatu Spaniard. Because Lugha means language. Spaniard is indicative to the people.
Oh.
Give me another language.
German.
Yes,
Language.
Urdu. You took Urdu. It said Lughatu Urdu. The language of the people who speak Urdu. And I guarantee you, go back and look up Urdu, it's significant to something that has to do with the caste system, or Buddhist, or Hindu, or something indicative to that region. People just don't get names of language for no reason. Like Inglesia, English. In Arabic, Inglesia. You look at Inglesia, Ilkantara, which means England. And you look at it in English, English comes from Great England. Because they were there and then they came here. So al-lughatu is the
Language.
articulation. And an Arabiyyatu is indicative to what we've seen, the fatah, the dhamma, the kasra, over the top to the bottom, a line, it was like this. The form changed from this to that. All of that's indicative to the movement of their language, like their lifestyle, and that which they had as a custom.
Arabia too.
Again, when we mentioned this
still be
whole thing
considered
about
language?
Arabiya to something that moves.
Something that moves. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Lughat al-Arabiya means the language of the Arabs, if we're talking about in layman terms, but what does Arabiya to mean? Why did we go through all of this presentation to show you the language has to sometimes be fatha, dhamma, kasra. How many times have you seen a word in the Quran and looks like this, and then somewhere else it looks like that?
Yeah.
How many times have you heard Ahmed, Muhammad, Mahmud? They're all from the same derivative. Ahmed, Mahmud, Mada, Muhammad. They're all from the same origin. Hamid, Hamad,
Ahmad.
Hamid. Why they change like that? Arabiya too.
Wali.
Moving. Huh?
And
Walid.
sometimes
No, we're talking about words, they have the same base.
Mm-hmm.
Walid is not from the origin of Hamida.
sometimes when you read the Arabic, you know they don't have the factor. They don't have all the expressed on there. You have, as long as you know the Arabic language, you know what it's saying, right?
You'll get to that inshallah.
Okay,
I mean,
inshallah.
the first thing is to learn the patterns
Right.
and the words. The more you see it, if we were to do like this, every time we had class, what would you say that is?
Araba.
Araba. And how do you know it's not Urbu? How do you know? Because it's written, you see it, right?
Let's see it there.
Okay, so we keep coming back week after week. And then one week I do like this. Then I do like this. What do you think that one is?
Araba.
Araba. No.
But you don't have any markings. How do you?
I would just say Araba, because
Araba.
But why though? Why would you say Araba? Why would you say
Araba.
Ariba?
Because it's succeeded by the Sukoon. I mean the Doma. So the Araba.
Let me back up. I'm losing you. We're talking about what you just asked me.
Uh-huh.
Some of the letters, some of the words don't have any marking.
Right.
Okay, I wrote this in the beginning. I wrote this. I wrote a different form here and there. Okay, so I'm saying to you, this is technically the second class. We're just going over it again to make it locked in.
Mm-hmm.
4 classes pass. 2 weeks. And I come back and I write this on the board. After you've already been seeing Araba, Urbu, then I come and I write like this on the board. And I ask you, what's that word? What are you going to tell me that word is?
Araba.
But you don't see, so how do you know?
Because we
started with
started with
Fatha.
Okay, mashallah, Allahu Akbar, mashallah. We're going to have to start bringing some gifts. Like Sheikh Hassan, in his class, if you get it right, he gives you a chocolate.
Uh-oh.
But if you answer that thing, they'll bring some
I'll be
chocolate.
starving.
Because we started. See, and this is why the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the issue of aql. You don't use your aql, your intellect, to make the rulings and the ways that's laid out. You use your intellect in looking at the rulings and the ways it's laid out. There's a difference. Somebody using his intellect to make his own judgment in his own way. This is when you get into a problem. Because Allah already laid out the ways and the judgments. But you use your intellect to look at and to discuss and figure out what changed and what's this and that. This is why Allah gave you that mind. So like he said, we started, and this is important with every word. And getting to the answer, how do we know when you read something that doesn't have the markings? This is the origin of every word. Fatha, fatha, fatha. That's how it all starts. So once you know that, if I erase it, it doesn't make a difference that you don't see it because it should be in your mind now as a pattern. That's harakat. So you say, man, how's he reading that thing with no harakat? He's been trained to know if ain't nothing there to tell him different, it has to be arabat. Why? Because that's how we started. They call it asl. That's the origin of the word. Now, this is going to be a little something different, but we can get to that too. You'll have ways where you'll know if this should be Urubu or if it should be something else, depending on what's going to come before it. I'll teach you that. What's going to come after it, you'll know. No, that has to be Urubu. But right now, we're not going to get into that. What we're going to do is make sure we understand, we pay attention to the patterns of the words. And that we say the words. Once you get into saying the word and you see the pattern, when it changes, and I explain to you why it changes, it's going to be easier to grasp. If you memorize like a chart, 1 times 1 is how much? 2. 2 times 2 is how much? 4. You memorize the chart, they take the chart down, they ask you, Papa, like this, as if the chart is there. The same thing in Arabic. That's why the Arabs are so good in formulas like algebra and geometry, because that's all this is. Patterns, formulas, and understanding how you go from one extreme to another. So, al-Lugha al-Arabiyya is the language that changes from this to this to this and those are the main three forms that you're going to see. Those three forms in the beginning. What's happening? Those are the main three forms you're going to see in the beginning, and then of course A'rabu. A'rabu. And it wasn't Af'alu. Just for clarification, this and this, again, they all have their own meanings. Whenever you see a word that has a sukoon in the middle, understand that this is what's called a verbal noun. Write that in your notebook, a verbal noun. A verbal noun. Anytime you see a sukoon in the middle of a three-letter word, it's called a verbal noun. Verbal noun.
So it's only with 3-letter words?
Yeah, just three-letter words. And this is called, in Arabic, masdaru. They call it verbal noun. We won't touch it anymore until later on, but you need to know that when you see it. As opposed to Araba, which Araba, by the way, is a fi'lun. It's a verb. It's a past tense thing. Araba. He traveled. Or to travel. Here, Urubu is a masdar, verbal noun, meaning it's a noun, but in that noun, it shows you that something is being done. It's a noun, but in it, it shows that something is being done. And again, English won't give you that. It's a noun, it's a thing. But in that thing, it shows something is being done. What did we see on the paper for Urubu? Look and tell me the definition.
Urubu is a caravan.
A caravan. Okay, so what is caravan? Is caravan an action or a thing?
A thing.
It's a thing. So we said verbal noun. So we say here caravan is Urubu, then we understand it's a thing. But what do you do with that thing?
Travel.
You use it.
You go.
Travel.
Look at the first
Travel.
part of the word that you just said.
Travel.
Look at the word itself in English. That's why it's there. Look at the word. Urubu. What's Urubu? He just said the word with a C.
Caravan.
Carrot.
Car.
No, you don't see car there.
Caravan.
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 What is the
That's
word
what-
you think
just said
caravan
it.
comes from?
Car.
Carry. Iowa.
Caravan. Yeah.
Iowa.
That's what it say, traveler.
No, but there's different travel.
Oh, it is?
You're talking about tahammul. You're carrying something. You could travel without carrying something. We said a verbal noun. We're talking about concepts again. Caravan, carrying something in a van. Hakada, sah. So when it said Urbu is a caravan, it's a noun. But in that noun, this is the difference between noun and verbal noun. This is the difference between what we said is ism. It's the first class we dealt with this terminology, ism. Ismun, which is a noun. This is different from masdar. Why? Because Arabiyatu is ism. It's a vehicle. It's a van. That's one thing. But here, Urbu is indicative to something and something being done with that thing at the same time. Caravan means you have a van, but that van is actually carrying something as you speak, while you're talking. They're moving now with their goods. Look at the caravan. It's not sitting still. It's a van, but all their goods in there and they're moving. That's what this word shows you. But that dhamma and that sukoon. So every word that you see like that, with the sukoon, is going to be a noun, that inside of that noun, it expresses something that's being done at the same time with that thing. And that's what's called masdar. And this is one of the beauties of the Arabic language. You could use a masdar, and you're talking about a noun, but you could see the action being done at the same time. Like that sign there, it says exit. In Arabic, that's called kharuj. Kharuj, which is another type of masdar. And then we're going to stop, inshallah ta'ala. You have kharaja. Kharaja is just like Araba. They're the same. Grammatically and structure-wise. Kharaja. You have Araba. Notice I said structure-wise and grammatical. I didn't say meaning. It don't mean the same. This here means to leave or past tense, he left. As this means, yani, to traverse or to, yani, or he moved. Say it. So here, when you say kharaja, this is the past tense verb. He left. Or it can be used, yani, to leave. Here, araba, to transverse, pardon me. Or, yani, he moved. Say it. Okay, now, why am I doing this? Because we're talking about the term masdar, a verbal noun. We already said, to make this a verbal noun, you're going to see a dhamma here. You change it, araba, and a dhamma. A dhamma, sukoon, a dhamma. This makes it change in its meaning. Urbun. Which means, urbu. Sorry,
okay.
urbu.
Yeah.
That was a pronunciation mistake. Which means, yani, caravan. Which means carry in a van. So where you get caravan from? Carry in a van. So it's showing the action of tahammul, carrying something, and the thing that you carry it in. At the same time, a thing and an action. So if we take kharaja, which means he left out or to leave, one of the forms of this verbal noun that we said in Arabic is masdar. Which means verbal noun. A noun that expresses and includes an action at the same time. That's what that means. If we take this and make it kharuj. That's the sign right there. We turn kharaja into kharuj. Now this is a different form. It's not a dhamma, a sukoon, and a dhamma. Don't get lost. The form is different, but it's the same type of grammatical phrase. If you have, as you have different types of nouns, different types of verbs, you have different types of masdar. What's my point here? Kharuj, nobody's going to argue that exit in English is an action. It's a thing. The thing that you go out. But at the same time, this thing, as we said, masdar, it's a noun. It's a place that you exit. It shows at the same time an action being done. This is kharuj. This is the exit door. Is this an action or a place?
Place.
It's a place. How do you
Place.
know? It's part of the building. And it says exit. But it's telling you to do an action at the same time. So it's a place that has in
Followed
it
by action.
an action.
It's a place followed by action.
No, not a place followed by action. It's a place that in that place an action is being done.
It's where the action happens.
Thing.
Heck of that.
You can say where the action happens, but that's wrong too. It's a verbal noun. It's a noun that shows that the action is being done at the same time. Because again, khuruj is a place. It's an exit. It's a place. It's not an action. But at that place, kind of like what he said, it shows that that action is being done at that place. That's a good way of saying. You know Spanish. See how he correlated that? And they said if you know Spanish, or I think they said maybe Urdu, languages that are similar to Arabic and have a masculine and feminine and different patterns, you can figure out and learn Arabic quicker than somebody who just knows English. And that's true. Because he just said that and it just came to my mind. Basically, yeah. A place where action is being done is close. Not exact, but close. Because miqat in Arabic is the place where you put on your ihram for Hajj and Umrah. But it's a place. But it's a place where you do something. Here we're talking about a place, a thing, where at the same time is going to include an action with that thing. As khuruj, again, is the name of the noun. It's a place that you actually can see. But at the same time, you see somebody taking that place and they're doing the motion is included in the word itself. So that's why they call it a verbal noun. A noun that expresses an action at the same time. So that urbu was the same type of grammatical structure and name of category, masdar. So that dhamma, sukoon dhamma, that type of pattern, whenever you see it, it's a verbal noun. And I just showed you khuruj because the door is there with exit to try to get you to relate, but this is still masdar. These things you have to know, even if you still have some cloudiness, even if it doesn't click right away. When we start reading in a couple of weeks the book, and the different things come, it'll help you these things in the beginning, inshallah ta'ala. And the more you learn, I won't pour too much on you. We'll stick with those basic things, and you'll start to see them in the book, and you'll start to apply them. And some of the conversation in the book, you'll be Ahmed, you'll be Ibrahim, she'll be Fatima, and you'll read and you'll see how to speak and role play, and it'll become fun, and it'll lock in, inshallah. Any questions? We got 2 minutes? Or no minutes?
What we left?
Time is up.
8:15.
8:15.
I think it's-
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us and to write it
Inshallah.
in deed and increase us,
Ameen.
inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Exactly like that.